Hello everyone, my name is Daniela, and I was born into an aristocratic family where my mom and dad were way too strict. They raised me the way they raised children in royal families, in complete strictness and total control. All my childhood, we went to receptions and social gatherings and things like that. Despite the fact that we had a lot of money, I personally did not gain any happiness from it. I always wanted to play, at least have a little fun with my friends somewhere outside, roll around in the mud, eat ice cream, eat sand, run through puddles, and just laugh wildly at anything. But alas, I was forbidden from such pleasures of life. We did not have the right to laugh when we felt like it, to post pictures taken with or without captions, with or without filters. All our photos were checked by a team of lawyers, marketing, and PR experts before they were published. Do you know how creepy that is? My parents were not allowed to kiss me in public, only in exceptional cases, when the circumstances or the topic of the day demanded it. And my mom told me that when I was born, they wouldn't put me on her chest right after. In case you didn't know, that's the way it's supposed to be because the doctors think it's an important moment for the mom and baby to bond, and my mother was deprived of that. She said they took me away from her and gave me to a nanny straight away. When my mother told me this, I could hardly hold back tears. When I asked why they did that, my mother said it was necessary. Those circumstances demanded that we not be too attached to each other. I'm not talking about the fact that my mom doesn't love me. She and my dad sure do love me, just within very strict limits. In particular, my grandmother, who was close to the actual royal family, demanded that all the rules, regulations, and etiquette be followed. Already as a little girl, I ate food with a knife and fork, drank water from a glass, kept my posture, and spoke little, only when asked. My nursery was orderly because I'd been taught to keep track of it. My shoes were always polished, thanks to the maid, and my hair was styled. By the time I was 5, I knew French, Spanish, German, and was learning Chinese in addition to my native language. I came to breakfast in a clean, iron dress at 7:30 a.m. sharp every day, even on weekends, greeted my parents, and sat down at the table. My father always sat with his tablet, reading the news and studying the exchange rate, while my mother ate in silence. "Mom, we're going to have a shortened day at school today." "Really? For what reason?" "The teacher got sick." "Wow, does that mean you'll be back earlier than usual?" "Yes, and I thought, what if we could go out for a while?" "What? Take a walk? Do we have a visit today? A meeting? Brunch?" Mom confusedly pulled out her notebook and started leafing through it, while Dad put his tablet aside. "Relax, I mean an unplanned walk. Just a walk in the park and some ice cream and a chat."
"Are you in trouble? What do you want to talk about?"
"I'm not in trouble. I just want to,
"I'm sorry, daughter. I have a lot of important things to do today."
Then I'll go out with Mom. Right, Mom?"
"I don't go out without your dad. The press will start writing about our divorce, and we don't need dirty rumors right now."
"Here we go again with the rumors. If it's just a rumor, then why care about it?"
"I just avoid and don't create unnecessary problems."
"But it's my birthday today."
"What? What? Why isn't it in my book? Didn't we plan this day? God, we have to organize dinner right now. Invite your father's coworkers and their wives. Oh my God, so much to do."
"Mom, how can you not understand that I can't just spend the day with you without these guests? I don't know anyone there, and I don't want to know anyone. Can you at least leave your business just for today?"
"But what will people say?"
"Say I decided to celebrate in a small family circle."
She's right. We don't have to get people together this year. Last year, there were about 1,500 people. I could barely find a restaurant for that many.
It was my worst day.
Okay, I won't call them, but we can't go out. We'll be home. We'll think of something.
I was in no mood all day. My parents couldn't throw me a spontaneous party. What could be worse? After school, I went to the bakery, bought a cake and a candle, made a wish and blew it out, and then sat down at a table and ate it alone. Then some girl came up to me. She was older than me, and we got to talking, and she asked why I was alone. I then realized that she didn't even know who I was. It turned out that she had just gotten here. As we chatted, I noticed the scars on her arms. She immediately hurried to hide the hand under her sleeve.
What are they?
Just professional scars.
And what's your job?
I'm a fighter.
What do you mean?
I'm a street fighter.
But you're a girl.
Yeah, it makes the spectacle more interesting. And that's what I do for a living. Why? Do you want to try it? No, that's not my thing. Well, here's my card and address if you want to come see it. I'm there on weekends. And she went back to work as a waitress at the bakery, as if nothing had happened. I came home in the evening and asked my mother to spend some time with me, but she said she had a Zoom meeting. Wow, what a birthday, I said to myself. The most unpleasant part was that I was better congratulated by the waitress on my birthday than by my own parents. I freaked out, and while my mom was on the phone there, I packed up and went to see Jacqueline, my new girlfriend. She was just finishing up her shift. She didn't ask too many questions at the sight of me, just took me by the hand and led me to the place where people lived a parallel life. It was a basement with a coded lock. It was crowded, stuffy, smoky, and two girls were fighting in a ring. They fought aggressively. There was blood all over the floor, but the sight seemed exciting. The fight came to an end. There was a winner and a loser. The grand prize was $5,000, which is cool, but I wasn't interested in the money. I was interested in this flip side of naughty life, bad girls. Jackie quickly understood me, and in 3 minutes, my name was called out to the announcer that I was invited to the ring as the birthday girl. I put on my mask and came out. Everyone applauded me, and then offered me a fight. They promised not to beat me too hard. At first, I doubted it. I was scared, but I waved my hand. Who knew when I'd get a chance like this again? Suddenly, it was like something clicked in me. I changed. A beast awoke within me. In the first round, I managed to put my opponent on her back, though I had never fought before. The second fight, the third, I was like a fighting machine. They gave me the nickname Machine for the new girl. Despite my looks, I beat 3 of them, and I took home $15,000 for the night. Jackie warned me that at first, the main thing is not to shine, so such a person like me had better hide, and I agreed with her. That's why I didn't take the mask off until I got out of there. And then it went like this. I started taking part in fights without rules. They were illegal, banned. If my parents had found out about it, it's hard to imagine the problems we would have later on. I won fight after fight. I got to experience the popularity. Jackie was training me and supporting me, but as it happens, one day she asked me to give her half of my winnings. For what? If it wasn't for me, you'd be living like a gray mouse, and now you have this. Think of it as payment for my help. But I didn't ask you to help me, and I've already deposited all the money into my account. Is that so? You're not poor, and I have a son. Didn't I tell you? I have to support him. Because of you, they don't take me into the battle that often anymore. It's not my fault. I'm just better at it than you. We fought. Maybe I shouldn't have been that greedy, but I just felt like she was wrong at the time. I was supposed to have an important fight that day. There was a big rivalry. All the guests in the hall bet on me, and I was supposed to win. But just before it started, amongst the crowd, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. What? Mom? Dad?
No, Daniela, what are you doing? Daughter, come out of there.
How did you know? And then Jacqueline came out behind them. She was smiling and looking at me. You bitch, I said, not hearing the gong, and my opponent hit me right in the jaw. I fell to the floor from the blow with a broken nose. I tried to get up, but my eyes went dark, and then I lost consciousness. As it turned out, my parents wanted to do it quietly, but the angry Jacqueline decided to shut up shop and turn the club over to the police. The whole thing got to the press. We got into a lot of trouble as a family. Jacqueline was selling videos of me fighting to reporters, and my family was forced underground. Anyway, guys, I wanted an adventure, right? And I got it. Now we live in a remote part of town and are left without luxuries. That's what my recklessness led to. My dad still won't talk to me. So, what do you advise me to do?
Hello, everyone. My name is Esther.
I have a few questions for you. Who is your idol? Who are you proud of? For many of us, of course, the idols are our parents. So were mine. Until I found out a terrible secret about them. I still can't believe they would do such a thing. I was always proud of my parents. It would seem that I had never met such worthy, wise people. I saw in them a constant kindness, and I wanted to be the same. I always tried to do my best at school, behave properly, copy my dad's manners, and think like my mom. I wanted to become the same as my parents in the future, but sometimes we make mistakes. We only see the surface. The more I learned about them, the more I lost respect for them. I was in the 8th grade. As a class, we decided to collect things for the children who had been abandoned by their parents in orphanages. I was taught from childhood to be kind, and I without doubt bought a lot of new things and collected all my childhood toys and books. We decided to not go to an ordinary orphanage, but to the children with disabilities. Over dinner, I told my parents that I was going to the orphanage tomorrow. I've always felt sorry for orphan children, not exactly disabled ones. I believe that childhood is a period when the personality is laid, the worldview is formed, vitality, purposefulness. These qualities do not develop spontaneously, but are formed with full-fledged parental love. I believe that these children not only suffered psychological and physical trauma at birth, but they also have to survive and cope alone. We never discussed this with our parents, and I shared the news with them over dinner. I remember that my father got up and went to his room, and my mother's eyes started to water. I never understood what happened then. The next morning, I decided to apologize and said that I was proud of my parents, and I was sure that they would never do that. We went with the class to an orphanage. I was glad that I had good-natured classmates. We collected a lot of toys, food, and clothing. We planned to stay until the evening, because we had prepared a performance for them. First, the children greeted us, prepared dances, songs, scenes of famous fairy tales. It was very fun. They are so talented. Then we showed our performance, and then there was interaction. No one was bored. The final conclusion was their performances with life stories. Everyone had their own story. One was left by their parents in their home, the other after 3 years of trying to overcome a disease. The other's parents took away their parental rights, and there were a lot of such stories. Every story made me cry. These life stories affected me very much, and different feelings arose. Feelings of guilt, ingratitude, and resentment. The last speaker was a girl, who reminded me very much of my mother in childhood, which I saw in a photo. I don't know why, but at that moment I was very affected by her appearance, and the story made me ask her questions. Her name is Sarah, older than me by 4 years. She was predicted to have cerebral palsy. She was injured during childbirth. I do not know whose fault it was, but at that moment for me, it was her parents who just left her to fend for herself. According to the story, her parents did not immediately abandon her. They left her to her grandmother, but her grandmother died and, at the age of 3, she had to be sent to an orphanage. She remembers them. They visited at first. She told me how she and her grandmother loved each other, remembered her love and warmth, but from others, she never felt anything, unless it caused a feeling of constant pity. In the end, she said that she hopes and believes that her parents will come for her. Maybe they're having difficulties now, and she understands everything. Her grandmother gave her a picture of her parents before she died, and she keeps it by her heart. I really wanted to see it, and even more, I wanted to talk to her, as if I had found a soulmate in her. But the time had come to distribute the collected things and go home, and so I didn't have time. I arrived home very depressed, without mood. My soul was empty. I didn't sleep all night. The stories of all the orphans' lives affected me very much. I especially couldn't forget this girl, who was left by her parents after her grandmother's death. After waiting for dawn, I ran back to the orphanage. I needed to talk to her, to calm down. I wanted to be her friend and help her in any way I could. When I arrived, they had finished breakfast. The teachers recognized me and gave me a chance to talk to her alone. I don't know how many hours we talked. The words didn't end, and I saw myself in her more and more. and she recognized herself in me. It was as if we had known each other since birth. We started telling our secrets, and there was complete trust. I told her about my parents and how proud I was of them. After that, I asked to see a picture of her parents, because she said it was the only thing that remained of them. She kept the photo in her diary, where she wrote letters to her parents every day. I was shocked by what I saw, because they were my parents. My hand started to shake, and the photo was on the floor in a split second. Now images of my grandmother taking care of her played through my mind, and I began to understand why my parents had reacted so strangely, why she had affected me. I was too shocked to say a single word. I went home in silence and in a terrible state. I hoped that my parents would calm me down and say that there was a misunderstanding, that she's not my sister, and the picture isn't of my parents. On the way home, I wrote that we were going to have a serious conversation and asked them to get ready. Mom was home, and Dad had to leave work early. I remember that day very well, the tension in the room. Unfortunately, as much as I don't want to think bad things about my parents, Sarah was my own sister. My mother did not manage to share much with me, but my father told me how hard it was for them to accept such a burden. They were afraid, and are still afraid. I found out that they often visited the orphanage where Sarah is located and sponsored, but Sarah didn't know about it. My parents would have told me sooner or later, because you can't hide a secret like that. I admitted that I was disappointed in them, felt lonely, and in my heart doubted their love. I got depressed and didn't talk to them for a week. I was looking for a solution. I had two conditions. Either I go to an orphanage until I come of age, or Sarah will live with us and we will give her a full life. One day, my parents called me and offered to pick up Sarah themselves, and we had a long conversation. They repented, saying that this was the biggest mistake that they had made in their lives. Since then, Sarah and I are the closest sisters. I love her with all my heart. My parents and Sarah also quickly found a common language. I am glad that my parents corrected their mistake, because the child is not to blame for anything.